house was silent when Daniel Harper, a self-made millionaire, pulled into his driveway earlier than usual. Normally, his wife Olivia would greet him with her perfectly rehearsed smile. But today something felt different. As he stepped inside, briefcase in hand, he heard muffled sobs echoing from the back hallway. Curious, he followed the sound, only to freeze in his tracks at the sight before him. Olivia, dressed elegantly as always, stood towering over a trembling little girl no older than 12. The child's skin was dark, her eyes wide with fear as Olivia shoved her against the wall. "You filthy brat!" Olivia spat, her voice venomous. "How dare you touch anything in this house? You don't belong here." Daniel's heart stopped. He knew that child. She was the daughter of Mariah, their loyal maid who had worked tirelessly for them for years. Mariah had scrubbed their floors, cooked their meals, and cared for their home as though it were her own, all while raising her daughter single-handedly. Now standing in his own mansion, Daniel watched in horror as his wife kicked the defenseless girl's leg, making her stumble. Tears streamed down the child's cheeks and she whispered, "I'm sorry." "I didn't mean to," Olivia sneered. "Your kind is always sorry, always in the way." Daniel's grip on his briefcase tightened until his knuckles turned white. He could feel his world cracking apart, anger and disbelief flooding his chest. His wife, the woman he thought he knew, was standing there, spewing hatred at an innocent child in their home. He hadn't planned on coming home early, but fate had dragged him here at this exact moment. And what Daniel Harper was about to do next would shock everyone. Daniel Harper's life was the picture of triumph. At 42, he had everything the world told him was success. Wealth, power, and a reputation built on hard work. He wasn't born into privilege, far from it. His childhood was marked by dimly lit kitchens where unpaid bills sat, stacked in a drawer, and by nights when his mother worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. That upbringing taught Daniel resilience and gave him a hunger to create a life where struggle was a distant memory. Today, his mansion in the suburbs stood as proof of that climb. The gleaming marble floors, high ceilings, and polished cars in the driveway weren't just luxuries, they were symbols of how far he had come. To everyone else, Daniel Harper was a man who had it all. But behind closed doors, his home often felt less like a sanctuary and more like a stage. Olivia Harper, his wife of 12 years, was admired in every social circle they touched. Elegant, articulate, and breathtakingly beautiful, she played her role as a millionaire's wife to perfection. At galas, charity dinners, or even a simple brunch, Olivia always commanded attention. People whispered about how perfect the Harpers were, the brilliant businessman, and his flawless partner. But Daniel knew another side of her. Olivia's perfection came with a sharp edge. She valued appearances above all else, often dismissing kindness as weakness. To her, people weren't people. They were either useful accessories or obstacles in the way of her image. Daniel had learned to live with it, telling himself she was just ambitious, just particular, just strong-willed. And then there was Grace Johnson. She had been with the Harper household for nearly 5 years, hired initially as a maid, but quickly proving herself indispensable. Grace wasn't just hardworking. She carried a quiet dignity, a sense of loyalty that Daniel respected deeply. A single mother, she had weathered life's storms while raising her daughter alone. Where others might have broken under that pressure, Grace had remained steady, determined to carve out something better for her child. Her daughter, Lily, was often around the house after school. At 12, she was bright-eyed and curious, the kind of child who noticed everything but spoke little. Sometimes Daniel would find her sketching flowers in the garden or sitting quietly in a corner with a notebook. Once, he'd seen her crouched in the yard, tracing shapes into the dirt. When he asked what she was drawing, Lily looked up shyly and whispered, "I'm making wishes." That moment stuck with him. Though Daniel never said it aloud, he admired Lily. She reminded him of his younger self, quiet, thoughtful, hopeful despite hardship. To him, she and Grace weren't just staff. They were part of the fabric of his home. Everyone under his roof deserved respect. That morning, Olivia had kissed him goodbye with her usual grace, reminding him of the charity gala she wanted to attend that weekend. She had been glowing, talking endlessly about which gown would turn heads. Daniel had smiled politely, though part of him felt weary of these constant performances. His mind was elsewhere, on a new contract his company had just landed, on the late-night meetings ahead, on the endless cycle of building and protecting his empire. By noon, Daniel was buried in paperwork at his downtown office. Everyone expected him to celebrate the new deal, but instead, he felt drained, restless. Something inside him urged him to go home. He couldn't explain it, but he listened. He closed his laptop, told his assistant to reschedule calls, and headed back earlier than planned. When he walked through the mansion's front door hours later, briefcase still in hand, he expected silence, perhaps Olivia on the phone or Grace tidying up. Instead, he heard muffled sobs. At first, he thought it was Grace, maybe hurt in the kitchen, but as he moved closer, the sound grew sharper, smaller, childlike. And then he saw it. Olivia, his elegant, admired wife, towering over Lily Johnson, Grace's daughter. Her face twisted with rage, her voice dripping with venom. Olivia spat insults while kicking the trembling girl. Daniel froze. His chest tightened, his vision narrowed. In that instant, the illusion of his perfect life shattered. This was his home, his sanctuary. And yet, what he saw before him was ugliness he could never have imagined. Daniel's breath caught in his throat as he stood frozen in the hallway. He wanted to believe his eyes were lying to him, that maybe there was some misunderstanding, some reason why Olivia was standing over Lily with such hatred in her eyes. But the truth was undeniable. Olivia raised her voice, sharp and venomous. "You filthy little brat! I told you not to touch the china cabinet. Do you have any idea what that costs? People like you don't belong near things like this." Lily pressed herself against the wall, her small frame trembling. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Harper. I didn't mean to. I was just dusting like my mom showed me." "Don't you dare talk back to me," Olivia snapped, delivering another shove that made Lily stumble forward. "Your mother should know her place, and so should you." Daniel's jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. Every fiber of his being screamed at him to intervene. Yet he stood still, shocked to his core. This was the woman he had shared a life with for 12 years. The woman he had defended in public, the woman he thought he knew. But here she was, unleashing cruelty on a defenseless child. Olivia's words grew colder. "Grace should be grateful we even let you live here. Without us, you'd be nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing!" Daniel finally found his voice. "Olivia." Her head whipped around, eyes widening as she realized he had been standing there. For a moment, her mask cracked, panic flickering across her face. But then, as if snapping back into character, she straightened her posture and forced a brittle smile. "Daniel, you're home early." He set his briefcase down with a heavy thud. "What are you doing?" Olivia's tone shifted instantly, dripping with false sweetness. "Oh, darling, it's nothing. Just correcting the child?" She was mishandling things she shouldn't be touching. Daniel's gaze shifted to Lily, whose tear-streaked face told the real story. The little girl hugged herself, shaking, too frightened to speak. "Correcting?" Daniel repeated, his voice low and dangerous. "That looked an awful lot like abuse." Olivia's eyes narrowed. "Don't exaggerate. She needs discipline, Daniel. Children like her grow up wild if they aren't kept in line. Grace lets her run around as if she owns the place. I won't have it." The words hit Daniel like a slap. Children like her? He stepped forward, anger simmering just beneath the surface. "Do you even hear yourself right now?" Olivia scoffed, folding her arms. "Oh, don't act so righteous. You're too soft, Daniel. That's always been your problem. You think money and kindness make people respect you? But it doesn't. People like Grace and her daughter, they're beneath us. They need to be reminded of their place." The venom in her words made Daniel's stomach turn. He had always known Olivia was prideful, but he had never seen this side of her. This raw, hateful arrogance. Lily finally spoke, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean to break anything. I just wanted to help my mom." Daniel knelt down, meeting her eyes. "You didn't do anything wrong, Lily." His voice was steady, but inside he was raging. Olivia's face twisted in disgust. "Daniel, get up!" "Don't kneel to her. For God's sake, she's the maid's daughter." That was the moment something snapped inside him. For years, he had ignored the warning signs, excusing Olivia's coldness as ambition, her cruelty as firmness. But now, watching his wife dehumanize a child in their own home, Daniel saw her clearly for the first time. "Enough," he said, standing tall. His voice was sharp, commanding. Not another word. Olivia's mouth fell open. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Daniel growled. "If you lay a finger on this girl again, if you so much as raise your voice at her, you'll regret it." For the first time in years, Olivia looked genuinely rattled. She wasn't facing her husband, the businessman, or her husband, the social.
figurehead, she was facing a man pushed
to his breaking point. But Olivia wasn't one to back down easily. She hissed, "You're choosing them over me? Over your own wife?" Daniel's reply was ice cold. "I'm choosing what's right." Lily's sobs filled the silence, and Daniel knew this was only the beginning. He had drawn a line, and Olivia would not forgive him for it. But for the first time in a long while, Daniel didn't care. The silence in the grand hallway stretched long after Daniel's words. Olivia stood frozen, her perfectly polished nails digging into her palms. Lily clung to the wall, her eyes darting between the two adults, unsure if she was safe. Olivia finally broke the silence, her voice trembling with anger. "Do you even hear yourself, Daniel? You're humiliating me in my own home, defending the maid's daughter as if she were your own." Daniel's chest rose and fell with controlled fury. "Humiliating you? No, Olivia. You humiliated yourself the moment you laid hands on a child." Olivia scoffed, masking her unease with arrogance. "Don't be ridiculous. She's a nobody. Grace should be grateful we gave her work. Without us, she'd be scrubbing toilets in some rundown apartment. And this brat," she gestured cruelly at Lily, "should know better than to act like she belongs here." Something in Daniel snapped. He strode across the room and slammed his hand against the wall, inches from Olivia's shoulder. She flinched, her mask slipping. His voice was low but deadly steady. "You don't get to decide who belongs here. Not in my house. Not ever." At that moment, Grace appeared at the end of the hallway, drawn by the commotion. Her eyes widened in horror as she saw her daughter trembling, Olivia standing defiantly, and Daniel seething with rage. "Lily!" Grace cried, rushing forward to scoop her daughter into her arms. Lily buried her face in her mother's chest, sobbing uncontrollably. Grace's voice shook as she looked at Daniel. "What happened?" Before Daniel could answer, Olivia sneered. "What happened is your little girl was snooping where she didn't belong, and I was teaching her a lesson." Grace froze, clutching Lily tighter. Her lips trembled, but before she could respond, Daniel stepped in front of her, shielding both mother and child. "Grace, you don't need to say a word. I saw everything." Olivia's face reddened. "Daniel, don't you dare side with them over me. I am your wife." "You're my wife," Daniel said coldly, "but that doesn't give you the right to be a monster." The word monster seemed to hit Olivia harder than a physical blow. Her pride, her carefully constructed image, cracked in an instant. She lashed out desperately. "So what now? You'll throw me out? Divorce me? And what about the gala this weekend? What about our reputation?" Daniel let out a bitter laugh, one that startled even himself. "Reputation? You care more about a dress and a room full of strangers than about the soul of a child. Do you realize how empty that makes you?" Olivia's jaw tightened. "You're overreacting." Grace, holding Lily, finally found her voice. "No, he's not." Her tone was soft but resolute. "I've worked in homes for people my whole life, Mr. Harper, but never have I seen something this cruel." Tears slipped down Lily's cheeks as she whispered, "I didn't mean to do anything wrong, Mr. Harper, I promise." Daniel crouched to Lily's level, looking her square in the eyes. "You don't need to promise me anything. Lily, you didn't do a single thing wrong. Do you understand? Not one thing." Her small nod broke his heart. He stood tall again, turning his full fury on Olivia. "This ends today. Grace and Lily are not servants to be trampled on. They are human beings deserving of respect, something you've clearly forgotten." Olivia's nostrils flared. "And if I refuse to apologize?" Daniel stepped closer, his voice like steel. "Then pack your things. Because I will not share a home with someone who treats others this way. Not now, not ever." The air was heavy, charged with tension. Grace's eyes widened in disbelief. Lily clung tighter to her mother. And Olivia, for the first time in years, looked small, cornered and unsure. Her lips trembled as she hissed, "You would throw away everything we built. For them?" Daniel's reply was calm but final. "No, Olivia. I'm throwing away the illusion we built. The truth is worth more than your pride." For the first time, Olivia had no words. The silence that followed was louder than any argument. The mansion's polished walls had never felt so suffocating. Olivia stood rigid, her face pale with shock, while Grace held Lily close, shielding her trembling daughter. Daniel looked between them all, a storm raging behind his calm exterior. For years, he had allowed Olivia's arrogance to hide in the shadows, excusing it as pride, even mistaking it for strength. But now, with Lily's tears staining Grace's blouse, there was no more hiding. Daniel drew in a breath and said firmly, "Grace, take Lily to the guest room. I'll handle this." Grace hesitated, unsure if she should leave him alone with Olivia. But Daniel gave her a steady nod, and she gently guided her daughter upstairs, whispering soothing words as Lily clung tightly to her. The moment they were gone, Daniel turned back to Olivia. The elegant woman who once commanded rooms with ease now looked cornered, stripped of her composure. "You've embarrassed yourself," Daniel said coldly. "Not just as my wife, but as a human being." Olivia bristled, trying to summon her usual confidence. "Daniel, don't talk down to me. You're being dramatic." "Stop!" he cut her off sharply. "This isn't drama. This is reality. You laid hands on a child. You demeaned her, her mother, and everything I stand for. Do you realize how vile that is?" Olivia's eyes flickered with desperation. "So what? You'll make me the villain? After everything I've done for you, for us? The galas, the dinners, the image? You think this empire of yours would shine as brightly without me at your side?